Hi everyone, my name is Nerima Wako and today we're in Kajiado County and we're going to be having a very interesting conversation with Immaculate Parseina. She's the Deputy Director of Legislation and Procedure here in Kajiado County. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Nerima. Yeah, my name is Immaculate. As Nerima has said, I'm the Deputy Director of Legislation at Kajiado County Assembly, and I'm glad to have this conversation.
Thanks
today.
for having us.
You're welcome.
I just have to highlight, by the way, she's Ayu, and she's someone who is in Gava. Can you imagine doing things that a lot of times when we think of politics, it's like politicians shouting things at rallies, but there are people who are working behind the scenes. So I'd just like to ask you to explain to us your job and how you got started working in council.
Oh yeah, I know those sound like so many questions in one, but let me give it a shot. Yeah, I joined Kajiado County Assembly back in 2014 in April, and I've worked in several departments. And Kajiado County Assembly has been the best employer for young people. I can say that. Not that I have experience with others, but Kajiado County Assembly has been one of the best, giving opportunities for growth and giving opportunities to work and giving opportunities to learn, basically. So I have served here, and what we do here basically is the county assembly is a legislature. It's a parliament at the devolved governance, and we do legislation, representation, and oversight. That is what a county assembly is all about, just like parliament. And just like parliament, the elected members, as the clerk had just shared briefly, that the elected members, the nominated members, and what I do here is serve. I just serve. I serve the members to be able to achieve their role, achieve their mandate. So basically, what we call kind of behind the scenes, we in parliament basically members make decisions, and because it is their role, we just support them with professional skills. We come in with our professional skills. We go to the county assembly, we have accountants, we have political scientists, we have legal counsels, just to offer advice, professional advice, to assist the members to make their decisions in their areas of operation. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so, can you explain to us what it looks like if someone has a problem and those steps and it's now to the assembly where you support that right?
Yeah. We from a public perspective, yes. From most of the time is most people have not understood the representative role of a parliament. That you actually elect someone, you're able to say a bit of theory in political science, and also in the constitution, where people they exercise their leadership either directly or indirectly. And because we are not able to host all the county in the whole of Kajiado, all the people to come and sit in parliament and make decisions, they do indirect. What they exercise their sovereignty indirectly. They make decisions indirectly by coming together and electing one person in a democracy. At the county level is what we call a ward. So they elect one person in a ward who comes to the county assembly and now represent them. And in the representation, a member of county assembly goes to his ward. There are issues in his ward, and he brings them to parliament. How does he bring them to parliament? He brings them to parliament either through motions. We have motions, there are statements. Sometimes you may go back on the ground and find out, like now an issue of floods, for example. Yeah. It takes easy because now it's a current thing in the country. If your ward has been affected so much in floods, as a representative of that ward, you have the leeway to bring a statement to the Department of maybe Water or Department of or the county secretary, even to the whoever is concerned, and do an elaborate statement just to ask questions of what are you doing about the floods, and you are entitled to answers of your people, because that is what a representative does. And there are also places where people can actually exercise that authority directly, by petitioning the county assembly. And I've found petitions to be very effective, very effective. And currently, we actually have a public participation going on the sand harvesting bill by the county assembly. And the youth have played a very, very important role. What we call, there's a Senate, Youth Senate in Kajiado County Assembly. They have played a very important role in that bill. they have really pushed it. They brought a petition to the county assembly, and the county assembly looked at the petition and they thought, it's good for it to be a legislation. And in consultation with the department, a piece of legislation was actually brought to the county assembly. It's currently under public participation. So they did a petition, and a petition can actually go up to being a piece of a law, depending on how you. So a petition is where people come down and draft the issues. It has to be specific. If it's an issue of sand, then you're addressing sand. If it's an issue of water, you're addressing water. So you bring your issue. You may not know how to draft a petition, for example, but we have a legal department that's mandated to actually guide you, not to change what you have in mind, but just to put it in the right format. And that's part of what professionals do in a parliament. Just put it in the right format without changing the idea of what you wanted to do. And that petition is brought to the county assembly, where the speaker reads it to the county assembly, and then depending on what issue the petition is handling, he commits it to that committee. If it is a lands issue, he commits it to the lands committee, whom they are given a duration of 60 days to consider the petition, look at the issues, invite stakeholders who are affected by this issue. They give their input, and then now the committee is able to do a report. And through that report, it's where the committee now gives recommendations of whether come up with a policy. Like now, the petition for water, one of the recommendations was put up a policy on sand harvesting, which is now happening currently, or now give recommendations of what the department needs to do. If it's an area that needs to be surveyed or subdivided, now that's how Parliament helps people make decisions or convey their decisions. So in that particular one where the youth brought a petition on sand harvesting, the committee met them, the stakeholders did the report, and one of the recommendations was this. And we are currently now having the bill in progress.
That's awesome.
Yes.
And shout out to the Senate.
Yes, clearly.
Now my final question to you is, you've already given us one example.
Yes.
And since you've worked with the county for a decade now,
yes.
What is a story that has stood out to you? Because I'm sure there are so many.
Yeah, I remember, 10 years is a long time. Some of them you will remember. I'll remember them later after this, and I'm like, oh, I wish I said this. But I'm sure I'll be able to share one that will come, at the top of my mind. For me, it will be working in an organization that is government but very innovative. I think for me that stands out for Kajiado County Assembly. Working for an organization, youthful, we have a lot of energy and ideas all over. We can have an idea on anything, and we have the energy to implement. But one of the things that has kept us, kept the work very interesting, and in government, as we said, sometimes it looks like, how can a youth be working for government for all these years? But my employer is very innovative. Like now, during the first county assembly, we're in the third county assembly, and I've been in all of them since the first one, second, and now we are on the third one. In the first county assembly, we were all new, even to government, and even to how things are supposed to be done. So and even the people themselves, they were new with devolution. So people did not know what does the county executive do and what does the county assembly do. So we had a lot of picketing because of development issues. They're telling the member of county assembly, why are you not building a road? Why are you not building us a hospital? And there's no CDF in here. So there's no money for them to do this. They just oversee what they approve in the budget for the county executive. So the then leadership thought, how can we be able to educate our people in Kajiado to understand where do you picket when you need a road? Where do you picket when you need a piece of legislation? Or how do you engage the county assembly? We just needed them to engage that in such a way that we can help them in the representation, legislation, and oversight. So we came up with two things. Number one is the county assembly did an open day where the members of the county assembly were involved and the secretariat, and we just pitched up tents with all departments on display, including the Department on Legislation, that this is what we do. We bring up bills. Once a bill is brought up, we take to the county executive, who are the implementers. Parliament don't implement. And then once we move it, now we do, the county assembly follows on, oversight. to see follow up on, you know, quarterly reports of the department. Have you implemented? What have you done about it? You know, so that stood out. And secondly, out of that, those picketing by young people, you know, the time they stormed here, they got into the chambers, they were saying, you know, they did what, you know, those kind of things. The county assembly also came up with an innovative idea called Bunge Mashinani. Bunge Mashinani, we actually, so far the county assembly has done 10 wards, yes. And we'll take the county assembly, the speaker, the members, the secretariat, you know, and the table office, together with the nurse, pitch up a tent in some rural, remote area and invite the members of the public. And, you know, have arranged members to sit in both sides as they always sit and run through the orders of the day, just like what we do in the chambers right here. And people were able to observe how legislation is done, how oversight is done, how representation is done. And then immediately after the session, going through the orders of the day, then that will be turned into a baraza. And then now the members of the public who attended the, you know, we will have a public gallery, you know, with something, just a barrier for members to sit at the public gallery and look at what's happening. And then after that, it's turned into a baraza where the members of the county assembly just sit up and ask the people, how do you think we can do this better? What you've just observed. And they'll raise issues in the budget process, this is not being implemented. Then we come back to the county assembly, write that in terms of resolutions and send it to the different departments. You know, tell them, can you do something about this and this? And one of the times, you know, the executive followed up and looked at what was going on in a certain market. So for me, that stood out. And I realized you can always have a solution to every problem. And after that, I have not seen any single picketing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
That's really
yes. Yes. Yes.
And so now I'd like to look in Robin, who's actually online, actually listening to the conversation. And I'd like him to share about his initiative and also what they've managed to work on as a young person in organizing. Robin, over to you.
Now, on my part, as I had explained, I have gotten a chance to interact with counties and county assembly over some period now, thanks to Imara. So when we were starting, I was engaged in Kericho, and then I got to work with Nairobi. So currently, I'm in the panel for county assembly lawyers in Nairobi County Assembly and in the Meru County Government. But through that platform, this platform of engaging and knowing when the policy, where policy meets the young people, is how I got to be in the technical working group for Nairobi. It was a very funny thing. Kenya was having, or the Ministry of Youth Affairs was having a public participation for the National Youth Policy back in 2019. And I was just fresh from Imara. So I attended the forum, and once they started explaining, the youth started shouting them down. So the director of youth that time was called Susan Njau. She stood up and a youth shouted to her that, why are you the director of youth and you are not a youth? And some deputy director stood to defend her and said, if you go to the director of fisheries, he is not a fish. If you go to the director of livestock, he's not a cow. So from that conversation, I actually got to be the only person defending the director. And that is how I was drafted in the technical working group for the youth policy on the national level. And once we started engaging, I was again now appointed the chair for the Nairobi youth policy, which is what I have been working on. But gratefully so, because of what Imara has taken me through, and I'm always grateful. So even moving forward, I am hoping that we will walk this journey with you and we can make something for Kajiado that we will live to remember. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robin. And I want to ask Immaculate Parseina, you next, if you have any advice for young people from sharing your experiences and how can they engage better if they're interested in engaging. What advice?
Wow, I think this is what I'll say to young people whom I am very passionate about, whom I believe they are leaders of today and leaders of tomorrow in their own spaces. is you must prepare. You must prepare. As a young person, you must be able to know your stuff and know it well. Because I believe opportunity and chance happens to everyone. But if that chance comes and you're not ready, then you're not considered. You may have made the greatest noise, but if you're not ready for the chance, then you're not considered. Because we are fighting to be at the table, but we are not looking at ourselves and saying, what does it take to be on the table and stay on the table? And as I had said earlier, you know, we are crying for the microphone. When you are given the mic, you must know what to do with that mic. And what I'm saying is, in whatever profession you are in, be patient with yourself to grow. Be patient with yourself to grow. And at this juncture, with this program, I would really request young people to exercise patience and look for mentorship. Mentorship across horizontally with those youth who have exposed themselves and got the experience in different fields of life and experience from older people. My belief is this: if anyone is 2 years older than you, they must be knowing something better than what you know. If they're 2 years, not only in age, but in whatever profession you want to undertake. If you got into a position before me, by all means, there is something I will learn from you. So for me, take the seriousness you deserve with mentorship, and just learn your skill. Thank you.
Thanks, Immaculate.
Yes.
Learn your skill. And
Yeah.
you, Robin, what would you share?
One of my favorite presidents of the United States was sworn in, and he said that ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And that is the same call that I will give to every youth out there. We have been having a sort of entitlement to the things that the government or those in power should give us. And it's a challenge to everyone out there to take that extra step and do something rather than just wait for something to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. That was very precise. What can you offer to the country? I just want to thank you both for joining us in this conversation, and I hope a lot of young people learn from the nuggets of wisdom that you shared today.
Thank you, Nerima.
Thank you.
Thank you.